Sometimes the worst betrayals don't come with shouting or slammed doors. Sometimes, they wear perfume you've never smelled before and smile while they lie to your face. If you ever find yourself sitting in a parking lot at midnight, heart pounding and headlights off, staring through a frosted windshield at a house you weren't supposed to know about, well, congratulations. You've officially entered the club of men who've loved the wrong woman a little too long. The night I found out, there was no lightning bolt moment. No shocking text, no lipstick on the collar, no hotel receipt. Just a whispered suspicion that started clawing at my gut a month before the wedding. Her name was Jessica, and we'd been together for almost 4 years, lived together for 2. I proposed last spring under the golden leaves of a Vermont fall, and she cried like she meant it. I believed her. God help me, I really did. But something shifted in late January. At first, it was little things. Jessica started putting passwords on everything, her phone, her laptop, even her iPad, which she barely used. She chalked it up to wedding stress, and I wanted to believe that. But the truth was, her laugh changed. Her touch changed. She started wearing perfume that made her smell like someone I didn't recognize. Vanilla and smoke. She'd never liked sweet scents before. I told myself it was just a new phase. People change. But my instincts? They were screaming at me like a car alarm at 3 a.m. Then came the late nights. Jessica had always been a homebody. Movie nights, puzzles, takeout in bed. Suddenly she had wedding planning meetings with her bridesmaids every Thursday. She'd leave looking like she was headed to a gala, not a Pinterest board brainstorm. And when I offered to drop her off or pick her up, just to be helpful, she declined. Every time. The final push came from Derek, my best friend since high school. He's not the nosy type, but he pulled me aside one evening and said something had been bothering him. He'd heard through a mutual friend, someone close to one of Jessica's bridesmaids, that she had been seen at a party 2 towns over. Not once. Not twice. Multiple times. Each time with the same crowd, and not a single one of them was on our wedding guest list. She hadn't told me about any parties. So, I did something I swore I'd never do. I checked her calendar. She uses this color-coded app for everything. Green for work, pink for personal, red for wedding events. That Thursday was marked in red. Cake tasting with Lindsay and Meg. Only Lindsay and Meg were at a ski lodge that weekend. I know because Lindsay posted the whole thing on Instagram. So I waited. Thursday night, I said I had to work late. She kissed me goodbye with that distant smile she'd started wearing lately and left in a rush. Hair curled, makeup heavy, heels too high for any bakery in the city. I followed her. God, even saying that now makes me feel pathetic. Like one of those guys in a bad country song. But there I was, taillights bouncing off wet asphalt, heart in my throat, trailing the woman I planned to marry. She pulled into a neighborhood I didn't recognize. Big house, music spilling out the windows. Cars lined the street like some college party scene. She didn't even hesitate. She walked right in like she belonged there. So I parked a few houses down, killed the engine, and watched. A little while later, she came back out. But not alone. Some guy I'd never seen before had his arm around her waist. She was laughing like she used to with me. The two of them stood on the porch like it was their private world. He leaned in. She didn't pull away. And then, like the final nail in a coffin that had been built in silence and secrets, he kissed her. I didn't get out of the car. Didn't shout. Didn't scream. Didn't cry. I just drove home. The thing is, betrayal doesn't hit like a gunshot. It sinks in slow, like ice water trickling down your spine. You feel it, but you don't move. You just sit there, letting the cold drown out the heat. I slept on the couch that night. Or maybe I just closed my eyes and counted the hours. By the time the sun came up, my decision was made. The wedding was off. But I wasn't going to tell her, not yet. I had one more move to make. One she'd never see coming. I woke up with the kind of clarity you only get after the truth cracks you open. You know that feeling? Like you've been underwater for months and suddenly, your head breaks the surface. You breathe in, and it stings, but it's real. It's fresh. That morning, I got up before Jessica did. Made coffee like I always did. Fed the dog. Sat at the kitchen island and watched her waltz in, humming some stupid tune, glowing like someone in love, just not with me. She kissed me on the cheek and said she was heading to a fitting with the girls. She was still lying. She didn't know I knew. And that was fine. That gave me time. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just nodded and told her good luck. My voice didn't even crack. I was already somewhere else in my mind, somewhere far beyond floral arrangements and first dances. Once she left, I opened the closet and pulled down the duffel bag I hadn't touched in years. Packed the basics, jeans, shirts, my old hiking boots. Passport. Birth certificate. Social security card. I even threw in the spare set of car keys she didn't know I still had. Everything I needed to disappear, quietly. I canceled the venue first. Non-refundable deposit. I didn't care. Worth every penny. Then the caterer, the photographer, the DJ. I told them all the same thing, personal emergency, plans changed, sorry for the short notice. Every call made it feel more real. Like I was erasing our future with one polite phone call at a time. Then I got to the registry. We'd done one of those joint online wedding things. It had pictures of us, laughing in the park, kissing under Christmas lights. I deleted it. Every gift request. Every smiling photo. Gone. Like it never happened. But the biggest step. I called Derek. He was the only one I trusted, the only one who hadn't lied to me or smiled while handing me a knife for my back. I told him everything, the party, the guy, the kiss. He didn't say I told you so. Just asked what I needed. A place to crash. Just for a while, I said. Got you, he said, without hesitation. I left my phone on the counter next to a note. Don't bother calling. The wedding's off. You know why. I hope he was worth it. I didn't wait for her to come back. I didn't want the tears or the excuses. I didn't need the performance. I drove out of town with the windows down and my heart beating like a war drum. At first, I didn't know where I was headed. North, maybe. Somewhere green. Somewhere with silence. Ended up crashing at Derek's cabin by the lake, off-grid, no signal, no questions. Just trees and water and the kind of peace you forget exists when you've been living a lie. For 3 days, I didn't speak to anyone. I cooked. I read. I slept. The quiet wrapped around me like a warm coat. I felt like I was breathing air that hadn't been touched by her perfume. But on the 4th morning, I turned my phone back on. 37 missed calls. 15 texts from Jessica. Dozens more from her friends. My sister. Her mother. Jessica's first message. Where are you? We need to talk. Please. The second one wasn't as gentle. You're being dramatic. We can work through this. That party wasn't what it looked like. By the 4th message, her tone had shifted. If you don't come back, everyone's going to think you're unstable. That you abandoned me before our wedding. Ah. There it was. The guilt play. I didn't respond. Because here's the thing about betrayal, it doesn't just show you who they are, it shows you who you were. I wasn't just leaving her. I was leaving the version of myself that tolerated less than he deserved. The guy who smiled through the cracks and called it love. And for the first time in 4 years, I felt free. Still, a man doesn't vanish without consequences. And Jessica? She wasn't going to take being left quietly. They say when you disappear, people don't panic right away, they get angry first. That's exactly what happened. By the end of that week, Jessica's tone in the messages had turned bitter. The pleading softened into threats, and the threats blurred into gaslighting. She went from, "Please come home," to, "You're ruining everything," in about 3 days flat. She sent photos. Ones of us smiling at restaurants, kissing in the rain, walking our dog. Said we had something too beautiful to throw away. That people would never understand why I'd do something so cold. What she didn't send? An apology. Not once did she say she was sorry. And that's what sealed it for me. Even after getting caught, after I vanished on her just days before the biggest moment of our lives, she couldn't own up. Couldn't say the simple words, "I hurt you." She was too busy managing the narrative. Making herself the victim. Then the real storm hit. It started with my sister calling. "You left her." Like actually left. I could hear the disbelief in her voice. She and Jessica had gotten close over the years, bridesmaid dress fittings, girls' nights, shared playlists full of wine and wedding dreams. I told her everything. The secret party, the guy, the kiss on the porch. She was silent for a moment, then let out this low whistle. I knew she was flaky, but, damn, Josh. Then came the fallout with her family. Jessica's mom, Donna, left a voicemail I still play sometimes when I need a reminder of why I left. She said I was cowardly, that a real man would have stayed and worked it out. Said her daughter was heartbroken, embarrassed, and humiliated. That I'd ruined her wedding, her reputation, her life. But you know what no one mentioned? The man she kissed. Funny, how people skip over that part. Turns out, the guy from the party was an old college friend. They'd reconnected a few months back. I dug a little deeper and learned he was invited to her bachelorette weekend, yeah, the one I wasn't supposed to know the location of. Apparently, she'd been warming the seat next to him while picking floral arrangements with me. She didn't just cheat. She planned around it. And when the wedding blew up, it didn't take long for the whispers to start. At first, they were all about me. He ghosted her. He had cold feet. Maybe he had a breakdown. But Derek, God bless him, he didn't let that last. He posted one thing on social media. Just one. Loyalty is earned. Josh didn't cancel the wedding out of fear, he did it out of clarity. Some truths are better faced before the vows than after. That post got shared more than I ever expected. Quietly, slowly, the tide shifted. Some of Jessica's friends started reaching out to me. Not to comfort me, but to confess. One said she'd seen Jessica texting the guy during my proposal dinner. Another said Jessica admitted, over too many mimosas, that she didn't think she was ready to settle for someone so safe. Safe. That was the word she used. Like I was a fallback. Like loving someone without chaos made me boring. That was the gut punch. But sometimes, betrayal is the best kind of truth serum. It shows you who's with you, and who was just around because of what you could offer. And as word got around, I started to hear less from Jessica. Until the last message came. I hope you're happy. Everyone knows what you did. You left me standing in a wedding dress. No mention of what she did. No acknowledgement. Just blame, wrapped in satin and pride. I didn't respond. Not then. But I knew I had to say something eventually. Not for her, but for me. So I wrote a letter. Not one I planned to send, but one I needed to write. Jessica. You lied. You betrayed me. You kissed someone else while we were planning a life together. You broke something I can't rebuild. And still, I don't hate you. I pity you. Because one day, when the music fades and the friends are gone, you'll realize what you lost wasn't just a wedding. You lost someone who would have loved you through anything. And you threw it away for a thrill. I folded it. Burned it. That was closure enough. The wedding was cancelled. The suit went back in the garment bag. The man I used to be. He stayed behind in that apartment. In that life. In that chapter. Funny thing about starting over, it doesn't come with trumpets or a clean slate. It comes with silence. Long, aching silence that forces you to sit with yourself and ask, who was I before all this? Who do I want to be now? The first few weeks after I vanished were like waking up in a house that used to be home but now felt haunted. Not with ghosts, but with echoes, of her laugh, her toothbrush, her half-used lotion in the cabinet. I didn't go back to the apartment. Derek offered to box up my stuff, and I let him. I couldn't stomach walking back into that place where every square foot held a memory soaked in something that now felt false. She kept it, by the way, the apartment. Texted me once asking if I wanted my name off the lease. I told her to do whatever made her feel like a grown-up. I stayed up at Derek's cabin for nearly 2 months. No TV. No neighbors. Just the sound of water slapping the shore and wind moving through pine needles. I fixed up the dock, sanded the railing, read books I hadn't touched in years. I started cooking again, real food. Not the cute Pinterest meals Jessica used to make for show, but the kind of cooking that feels like therapy. Chopping. Simmering. Stirring something back to life. Every now and then, I'd drive into town. There was this diner with chipped coffee mugs and the kind of pancakes that remind you of Saturdays in childhood. The waitress there, Julie, had this laugh that could shake dust off old grief. She never asked why I was hiding out. Just poured my coffee and called me city boy. That felt good, being anonymous. No one asking for explanations. No one looking at me like I was broken china. But even peace can become a cage if you stay in it too long. Eventually, I knew I had to rejoin the world. Not the world I'd left behind, but a new one. A better one. So, I did what any recently untethered man might do. I took a job I never would have considered before. There's a nature preserve about an hour west of Derek's place. They needed someone to help run their outreach and education program. My background was in logistics and marketing, not wildlife, but I knew how to organize, how to talk, and how to show up. And showing up was the one thing I knew I could still do. It felt good. Real. I'd spend mornings talking to groups of kids about owl habitats and local flora, then hike the trails in the afternoon fixing signs and checking fence lines. It was simple, honest work. No politics. No lies. Just sun on my back and dirt under my boots. I started journaling. At first, just random thoughts, fragments of anger, loss, guilt. But over time, it turned into something else. A story. My story. Not about the betrayal, but about the survival. The rebuilding. I wrote about how easy it is to mistake comfort for love. About how silence in a relationship can be the loudest red flag of all. About how forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook, it's about unhooking yourself from the weight of their choices. One night, around a fire pit, Derek asked me if I regretted it, walking away, I mean. I told him no. Not even for a second. Because here's the thing, a man who walks away from something that's killing him isn't weak. He's finally strong enough to save himself. Still, I'd be lying if I said there weren't moments. Little ones. Like the sound of a song we used to dance to playing in a store. Or seeing a couple at the farmer's market, holding hands, laughing like they'd never known betrayal. But those moments, they don't gut me like they used to. They just remind me. Remind me that I didn't lose her. I found me. And that's something no kiss at some secret party can take away. There was one final message from Jessica, about 2 months after the dust settled. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't know what I wanted. I hope you're okay. I didn't respond. Not because I was bitter. But because I was finally, okay. Time doesn't heal all wounds, but it sure does teach you how to live around the scars. By the end of that first summer out at the preserve, I felt like a different man. Not better, not worse, just truer. Like I'd peeled off the skin I'd outgrown. I didn't jump into anything new. I wasn't out there swiping through dating apps or trying to fill the void with someone else's laughter. I wasn't ready for that. I needed to know I could stand on my own 2 feet before I started holding anyone else's hand. But the thing about healing is, it doesn't ask for your permission. It just sneaks in slowly, like light through a curtain you forgot to close. It was a Tuesday when the past tapped on my shoulder again. I was standing by the visitor center, helping a kid reel in a beat-up fishing line that had caught more weeds than fish, when Julie, the waitress from the diner, walked over, holding her phone with this funny look on her face. She said someone in town had posted on a community board that they were looking for me. A woman. Out-of-towner. Pretty. Seemed lost. Asked around using my full name. I didn't need 3 guesses. Jessica. Turns out, she was in town. Not for long, just a weekend, according to Julie. But she'd been asking the wrong people the right questions. Said she just wanted to talk. Clear the air. Get closure. I laughed. Not out of humor, out of disbelief. Closure. That's what people ask for when they want to reopen doors that should have stayed nailed shut. Julie offered to deal with it, bless her heart. Said she could tell her to leave. But I told her not to. I wasn't hiding anymore. That evening, I walked into the little coffee shop on Main Street, and there she was. Sitting by the window, stirring a drink that had gone cold. She looked up, and for a second, we were just 2 people again. Not exes. Not ghosts. Just people. She stood up quickly, eyes wide. Said she hadn't expected me to show. I told her I wasn't doing it for her. She sat. I didn't. She started talking. Words spilling out like someone who'd practiced them in the mirror for weeks. She said she'd made a mistake. That it wasn't just about the guy, it was about how she felt lost, unsure, scared. That she never thought I'd really leave. That she thought I loved her enough to fight for it. And there it was. The real reason she came. Not to apologize, but to make sure she still mattered. I let her talk. I owed her that much. But when she was done, I told her the truth. That I didn't hate her. I didn't even think about her most days. That what hurt wasn't the kiss on the porch, it was that she planned around it. Hid it like a bomb in our future and waited for it to go off. That what we had wasn't love. It was comfort dressed in expectations. She started to cry. I didn't. Because the man standing in that coffee shop wasn't the same man who'd driven away in silence. He was lighter now. Wiser. Whole. I wished her well. Genuinely. Told her I hoped she found whatever it was she'd been chasing. Then I walked out, the bell over the door ringing behind me like a little hymn of peace. And as I stepped onto the street, I realized something. I hadn't thought about the wedding in weeks. I hadn't looked at the photos. Or wondered, what if? I hadn't felt that pull in my chest that used to come when I passed a bridal shop or saw a couple holding hands. That was the final ghost. And I left it right there in that coffee shop. That night, I drove out past the preserve, out to where the sky was so wide it made you feel like a grain of sand on a beach that stretched forever. I pulled off the road. Killed the engine. Rolled down the window. And for the first time since all of it, since the lies, the party, the betrayal, I sat in the dark, with nothing but the crickets and the wind and a soft smile on my face. I didn't feel broken. I felt free. It's been a year now. A full rotation of the earth since I left behind a rented tux, a hollow engagement, and the version of myself that once begged to be loved by someone who couldn't see me. And let me tell you, time doesn't erase pain, but it does give it room to breathe. To soften. To make peace with itself. Life looks different these days. I still work at the nature preserve. Still take the morning shift on the trails, still talk to kids about the way trees talk to each other underground. There's something beautiful about that, how even in silence, roots can reach out, connect, support. Maybe healing's kind of like that. Quiet, slow, invisible from the surface, but powerful underneath. I moved out of Derek's cabin 6 months ago. Rented a little place with a sloped roof and a porch that creaks when you rock too hard. I fixed it up myself. New paint, new shelves, new life. There's an old dog that wanders into my yard sometimes. No collar. Graying around the eyes. I feed him when he shows up, and he sticks around just long enough to let me know I'm not alone. I don't date much. Not because I'm afraid, but because I'm full. Full of my own company. Full of purpose. Full of something that took me a long time to find, peace. And then there's Julie. Yeah, her. We never planned anything. It wasn't a spark or a whirlwind. It was simple. Natural. One day she stayed a little longer after her shift. Brought over a lemon pie and said it was too much for just her. We sat on the porch, talking about nothing for hours. No pressure. No timelines. Just two people who had lived through enough not to rush toward the next fire. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear echoes of the past. Not loud. Not painful. Just familiar. The way Jessica used to say my name. The look on her face when I proposed. The plans we made for a future that never came. But I don't flinch anymore. Because now, I understand something I didn't back then. You can't build a forever with someone who hides pieces of themselves. You can't force loyalty out of convenience. And you sure as hell can't stay where your worth is up for negotiation. Walking away from that wedding wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. The man I was then, he needed the pain. He needed the heartbreak. He needed to lose everything he thought he wanted to find what he actually needed. And what I needed was to be alone long enough to remember who I was without her. To rebuild, not with bricks made from bitterness, but with stone carved from wisdom. I'm not angry anymore. I don't wish Jessica ill. I don't sit around wondering what could have been. Because what is enough. I stand on my own 2 feet now. Not waiting to be saved. Not begging to be chosen. Just breathing. Just living. One morning at a time. And as I watch the sunrise spill over the horizon from my porch, coffee in hand, dog at my feet, wind brushing through the trees, I smile. Because I made it. Not in spite of the storm. But because of it.